Hello once again, and welcome to Did You Know Gaming Extra. In this episode, we'll be exploring trivia from a selection of games for Sony's PlayStation 3. Despite the PlayStation 3's rough start, $599 giant enemy crabs,
attack its weak point for massive damage,
all that stuff, it ultimately went on to be a very successful console. It even ended up outselling its rival, the Xbox 360, which had it on the ropes for years. This shift partly came from Sony lowering the system's price, as well as changing the system's focus from multimedia to core video game titles. This isn't to say that some of the PS3's biggest titles were without issue. The best-selling game on the platform is Grand Theft Auto 4, which also made $310 million worldwide in its launch day. It was a good thing that Rockstar had all that money laying around, as in 2010, a lawsuit was filed by Brazilian composer Hamilton Lourenço da Silva against the company. The suit was filed with the civil court in Barueri against Rockstar Games and Synergex Brazil to restrict trading and distribution of Grand Theft Auto 4's episodes from Liberty City expansions in Brazil and worldwide. This was due to the game's song Conga Kid having sampled one of the Silva's songs without permission. The injunction stated that a fine of 5,000 Brazilian reals, about $3,000 at the time, would be issued for each day the expansion continued to be sold. This wasn't the only PS3 game to have troubles. Shortly before the release of Wipeout HD by Sony Studio Liverpool, formerly known as Psygnosis, it was announced that the game would be delayed. This was due to technical issues, and to add numerous improvements and features. The most pressing concern was that the game had reportedly failed to pass seizure testing. More specifically, the game's zone mode, where the player races along a surreal course set to music, which featured strobing lights synced to the rhythm, which had to have its visuals altered significantly. Despite some dismissiveness from Tony Buckley, the game's director, stating that the tests were subjective and the exact issues were difficult to pinpoint, the situation was taken seriously, and the game was modified to not only pass the tests, but to also include additional content. One of the PS3's best-performing new IPs was Sucker Punch Productions' title, Infamous. Director of the game, Nate Fox, stated that much of the inspiration of the superhero story came from two DC Comics series, DMZ and Batman No Man's Land, both of which focus on a city after a large disaster has occurred. Fox further stated that the film Batman Begins was an inspiration for the game. However, any correlation to DC Comics' Static Shock was unintentional. Fox considered his own personal involvement in the Seattle WTO riots of 1999 as influencing the reflection of spending time in a lawless place within the game. Grand Theft Auto 3 was also stated as an influence, in that the team could easily see themselves as superheroes in the open world of Liberty City. Similarly, Spider-Man 2 was used as a model to demonstrate what it would be like to move about the city and answer random requests for help alongside regular missions. Several PS3 games were changed during development, including Nippon Ichi's over-the-top strategy RPG, Disgaea 4. The game features a system for educational coaching, in which captured enemies can be punished or tortured by the player for various rewards. Early screenshots showed that this system included a torture device commonly known as a wooden horse. This device is constructed from a triangular body supported by 4 wooden legs, with the victim forced to straddle the hard edge under their own body weight, with their feet not touching the ground, held in place by restraints or additional weights. While it might seem like a purely historical object, wooden horses were still used during the American Civil War, and modified designs have been adopted for the practice of BDSM. Notably, some screenshots do appear to show the victim taking pleasure rather than being in pain. Its removal and replacement with a more benign cat statue was likely to avoid the game getting a higher 0 rating in Japan, as its inclusion might have prevented it from receiving the same rating as previous games in the franchise, which were deemed appropriate for all audiences. Square Enix's Drakengard 3, known as Dragon Dragoon 3 in Japan, had some interesting unused ideas during its design phase, as mentioned in a Famitsu interview with the game's creative director, Yoko Taro, and producer Takamasa Shiba. One of these concepts was to trick the player into thinking they'd missed a game in the series by naming the game 4 instead of 3, and to have the story be about searching for the missing piece of the series. Another concept was to move the game to an entirely contemporary setting, with the story about a Japanese high school girl who uses a cell phone to call for her dragon. Perhaps wisely, these ideas went unused for fear of betraying fans of the series. They instead focused on developing the game to more closely match audience expectations. Plenty of PS3 games have interesting secrets hidden within them. Just before reaching the cistern in Chapter 14 of God of War Ascension, a painting can be found with a message in front of it. The message includes a seemingly random series of letters, but is in fact a complex cryptogram. By seeing how the code changes when translated to different languages, players were able to work out that the code was sun, bird, bull, lion, sun. In the area are symbols for each of these on the floor. By walking over them and pressing R1 in the correct order, the painting will change to a picture of the Earth, with the message, "When the Earth stops, the journey begins." While the meaning of this vague message remains a mystery, it's assumed to be a reference to a new game that was in development at the time. But unfortunately, the project was cancelled after a number of high-profile layoffs at Santa Monica Studios. Speaking of God of War, in Chapter 3 of Ninja Theory's Heavenly Sword, while trying to recover the titular Heavenly Sword, observant players may notice Kratos' god armor and Blades of Athena on display nearby. The console has more secrets in its library, such as in Gran Turismo 5. In the game, on the last left turn on Trial Mountain Circuit, the player can look out over the water to see the mythical Loch Ness Monster. While this course appears in several games in the franchise, the 5th game is the first to include the aquatic cryptid. PlayStation Home has its own secrets hiding in the distance. By using glitches to move the camera outside of its regular constraints inside the Harbor Studio apartment, hidden in the distance behind a pillar is a mine from the game Warhawk, which is otherwise not seen anywhere else. It's not clear why this would be there, since even being able to see it requires the player to exploit bugs that are routinely patched. Now we'd like to bring up an interesting bit of info surrounding Metal Gear Solid 4, or more specifically, its tie-in novelization written by Satoshi Ito, better known by his pen name, Project Ito. Ito originally met Hideo Kojima at the 1998 Tokyo Game Show, shortly after the release of the original Metal Gear Solid. The two became fast friends, with Kojima even claiming that he was one of the only people who understood the themes and morals of his games, and with Ito going on to write fanfiction based on the franchise. In 2001, he was diagnosed with cancer, and Kojima himself made the call to go against policy and show him footage of the yet-to-be-released Metal Gear Solid 2. Later, after Ito's recovery and the release of Metal Gear Solid 4, the two collaborated on the title's tie-in novelization. The novel, however, was not only based on the original story for Metal Gear Solid 4, but was written to be accessible to newcomers, introducing characters, history, and settings from throughout the franchise. Ito came up with the concept of using Otacon as the story's narrator, and to omit certain boss characters in favor of more narratively strong, recurring characters to help carry the themes. Ito was later hospitalized again in 2009, and once again, Kojima broke company policy and began telling him about the next project, Peace Walker. When hearing about the ambitious new game, Ito told his friend, "I won't give up until you're done." Sadly, he was unable to keep this promise, as on March 20th, 2009, Project Ito passed away, aged only 34. And this is why the end credits of Peace Walker features a dedication to Hideo Kojima's friend and collaborator, Project Ito. And now it's time for this episode's random piece of trivia. Today, we'll be taking a look at the side-scrolling indie shoot-'em-up game, Mercenary Kings. The game has a huge amount of nods to other pieces of media, including video games, movies, and even manga. In the game, there's a Magnum-class pistol called Horse, which has the description, "Perfect pistol for a mercenary on a bizarre adventure." This is a reference to the manga series JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, specifically about character Whole Horse's gun, the Emperor, which is a revolver combined with an automatic pistol. Not only are the design and name similar, but the description also hints to the JoJo series as well.
Buy me a drink, sailor.
Chad Barnon? Way! The hell are you doing here?
I'm looking for Malcavio, mate.
Uh-oh. Should I be flattered or worried?
Maybe a bit of both. Look, I got a job for us.
Really?
Corey Nelson is willing to part with his rare collection of Clefairy Pokemon cards.
I'm listening.
You're not gonna like this.
No, we both know I've lost my awesome jacket, dude.
Just hear me out.
I can't have the three master gamers see me without it.
Vetus Varnus made it out, without even a shirt on.
Yeah, barely.
Speak of the devil, it's your boy Beowulf.
Phantom Sonic. Hello, Trevor Wooten.
She is one of the best players in the business.
I bet.
Look, I've got it all figured out. We'll take your prize deck of Petite Mew Pokemon cards here.
Those are super rare.
Jedasol 7 and Guillermo Chavez will cause a distraction, claiming there is an error 1355 with Pokemon Go. Meanwhile, Robert Cox will use the felt-tip pen to add an extra 0 to the attack damage on all your cards, without Everett Lathrop ever knowing, all in order to win this grand prize.
I hope you enjoyed this random smattering of trivia from the PlayStation 3's catalogue. We bought the original model as a conglomerate team of about 8 of us when it first came out because we didn't have any kind of income. And we did it just to play Metal Gear Solid 4. I thought it was a pretty good game. I don't know what you guys thought, but at the time it blew me away. I had never seen anything quite like it. But anyway, once again, thank you to the patrons. They are super cool. I would love to give them a big ol' hug sometime. I don't know what I'm talking about. Anyway, hope you enjoyed the episode. Bye-bye.